Good evening, brothers and sisters. It's an absolute honor to join you once again. I'm just waiting for the delay to pass. Wait for a few more brothers to gather before we begin. And I'd like to wish you all a wonderful Eid, a happy, wonderful day where you can all be blessed. And thank you all very much. I'm just checking the sound. Wonderful. Alright, excellent. Second episode of Sharia Talk, a special edition for the special celebration of Eid, what the fatwa is going on. And in reality, we have a big problem with fatwas. Today is a happy day. Let us take a look at some of the extremely funny fatwas that have been going on in the history of Sharia law. Now, of course, I've shown you the fatwas mentioned in the Bukhari in the first episode of Sharia Talk, where we showed how when someone is sick, they are ordered to go and chase a camel, to drink from its urine and drink from its milk. Then, when they finish drinking the urine, they kill the owner of the camel and they steal the camel. The Prophet, their version of the Prophet Muhammad, the version of the radicals, hears about this incident. He brings them to his house. He chops their hands and legs. Clearly it states in Arabic, فَقَطَعَ أَيْدِيَهُمْ وَأَرْجُلَهُمْ. He chops their hands and legs. Then he سَمَّرَ أَعْيُنَهُمْ. He placed nails within their eyes. This is medicine, Sharia medicine. We gotta have to accept it. But there are modern fatwas. We can say, okay, we have these fatwas that existed in the past, and these rulings and teachings. But what about now? Now that we've come into these modern eras of technology and civilization and human rights for all, and we're past all of that nonsense. What do we have to deal with now as Muslims? What really needs reform? Why reform in the first place? What is going on? Firstly, the first WTF, what the fatwa, is the fatwa to kill. If I don't like you, you write a book against me, then it's okay for the Islamic scholar to issue a fatwa against the person they don't like and tell their followers to go around and killing them. And this has happened. We're not speaking about something that occurred on the moon. This is something that occurred here on this planet of ours. Khomeini issued a fatwa against Salman Rushdie. Now Khomeini, he was a genius. I'm not saying Khomeini was an ignorant person, and the main reason why we hold him accountable was because he was a knowledgeable person. No one can deny that. Khomeini was a knowledgeable person, the leader of the revolution of Iran. But sometimes these knowledgeable people, they suffer from some sort of they live in their own world. I don't want to say mental illness, but sometimes too much power is dangerous. So he issues a fatwa against Salman Rushdie for publishing the satanic verses. Salman Rushdie insulted the Prophet Muhammad. The funny thing is, during the life of Prophet Muhammad, people used to insult Prophet Muhammad, spit at him, throw rocks at him, and Prophet Muhammad never killed one of them. His companions were murderers, yes. As for he himself, he used to run away from them. And history says that he fled from Mecca, his hometown, for 8 years, and he lived in Medina. And he returned when he was stronger. Why would you kill someone for the Prophet Muhammad because they drew a cartoon? These fatwas of killing, these need to stop. You don't kill people because of the way they think. People think differently. They study certain historical, political figures differently. And according to our own understanding, we see things differently. We don't kill people for how we think. This is the first problem when it comes to fatwas. The fatwa of death. If I don't like you, I kill you. That is disgusting. That is not the way human beings should be. And this obviously stems from serious roots within the history of this religion. Yes, it emerged as a religion of peace. All religions have to emerge as religions of peace because that's how they can gather an audience, a following. You emerge as a religion of peace, and now it's a religion of rest in peace. It's killing everyone, including people like myself. Therefore, this fatwa to kill needs to stop. The funny thing is, the fatwa to kill doesn't only extend to human beings they don't like. The fatwa to kill extends to anything they don't like. We have a Grand Mufti, or one of the main Muftis in Saudi Arabia. His name is Al-Munajjid or Al-Munjid, depending on the pronunciation. The Yemenis call him Al-Mungid or Al-Munajjid. I call him Al-Munajjid. In any case, this man issued a fatwa to go and kill Mickey Mouse. What do you say to such a person? Honestly, and you go on Google and you type the Mickey Mouse fatwa to kill Mickey Mouse. Why? Because it's a mouse, and mice are to be killed in Islam. So Mickey Mouse, and he says, this man with no shame, he says on national TV, he didn't tweet this, he didn't post it on Facebook to say that his page was hacked by someone. No, he came out on national TV and he said, Mickey Mouse is to be killed في جميع الحالات. In all conditions, you need to kill Mickey Mouse. How do you deal with such a person? So now we have to kill Mickey Mouse and kill Tom and Jerry. How do you guys come up with these fatwas? I really don't know. After this was translated into English and there was outrage in the West, he came out speaking in English, basically reading, saying that he didn't mean Mickey Mouse, he meant any mouse. He didn't make it better. You haven't really made anything change. Anyone wearing a Mickey Mouse costume would be killed now because of your fatwa. It doesn't work like that. So the fatwa to kill extends to everything they don't like, even if it be a cartoon on television. You have to kill. The second issue is the issue of sex. This idea of sex and money and women is a serious matter when it comes to the development of radical Islam, the extreme version of Islam. It's very serious when it comes to promising them what they will receive in the hereafter. This isn't a joke. When you promise a young Arabian, hungry, young adult, you promise them 72 virgins, and they come up with these ridiculous statements that we were taught. That if her headband, if these 72 virgins, if one of them, their headband falls on this earth, the headband falls. From paradise, it falls, the headband comes through all the planets and lands on the earth. The whole earth would smell nice and beautiful like musk. Come on, man. Who are you fooling? Who are you fooling? My perfume smells a lot better than anyone that can fall from space onto this earth. Or anything that can fall. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. That if the headband of one of the 72 virgins falls, everyone will smell it at the same time. Beautiful, will have a massive, massive wave of perfume. What's going to happen to this hungry young adult? And when I say hungry, I'm not here trying to insult or offend anyone. This is serious talk. These people, they eat meat early in the morning. They eat meat. They're full of energy. They live off dates. In the time of the Prophet, one of the main meals was dates every morning. The dates are full of sugar. Where are they going to release all of this energy? You're telling them that if they kill a Jew, kill a Christian, they're going to get 72 virgins on top of dining in the restaurant up there with the Prophet Muhammad. Of course they're going to kill. They'll kill everyone. They'll kill themselves if they can. And we see it today with suicide bombings. It happens. It's not something that we're imagining. These things occur. And then we have the more ridiculous statements that every 72 virgin, every one of these virgins, brings along with her 141 other virgins. These are the ones you haven't heard about. Every virgin has another 141, and they're called the huriyat, that accompany each virgin. I know, what is this whole ideology for sex, and what's happening? Is this a religion of piety and spiritualness and love and care, love for your brother what you love for yourself, or you guys are just a bunch of horny people? Which one is it? Which one is it? Because when someone listens to you, that's exactly what they think. This is a religion of people who are sexually hungry. That's all they care about. They care about the promises that they're going to receive. These are ideas that need to be wiped out of the religion. These are myths. They don't exist. There's no 72 virgins. There's none of that. Yes, there's paradise where you can actually enjoy eternal happiness, and that's the positive energy, and you see your good deeds will reward you. These are things I can relate to as a religious man. But when you're telling me that if I kill someone I get 72 virgins, why? People on this earth are dating more than 100 if they want. It just doesn't make sense. And what makes it worse is the fact that some Imams will tell you, no, the number 72, the amount 72 doesn't literally mean 72, it means many, so it could be more. It keeps getting worse and worse. Now we have the other side of modern fatwas that drive all of these sexually hungry people to committing such acts, is the fatwa of jihad sex. Now you may wonder, what on earth, what the fatwa is jihad sex? It's basically when young Muslim girls from the UK, from America, from Australia, fly to Syria and Iraq to join ISIS to pleasure the ISIS warriors. Because women are weaker than men in the battlefield of ISIS. So in order for them to support these mujahideen, the jihadists, they can just offer their bodies. And ladies who thought of this as being the dream of their lives, you know, she's gonna go and fall in love with a jihadi who will soon be a martyr, and then they can have kids and live a wonderful jihadi life. They go there, and the guy, he's sharing her around with all of his friends. She's not getting one, she's getting literally 72 guys, even more, that are being raped. There are cases where these young girls are confessing on YouTube, confessing on media, that are saying they've been raped more than 1,000 times, with no rest whatsoever. It's disgusting. And who issued this fatwa? This fatwa was issued by Dr. Muhammad al-Arafi, one of the prominent Wahhabi, Salafi, fundamentalist scholars now in Saudi Arabia. And he comes to Indonesia, comes to Australia, walks around in London, and he's ruined many lives. So now we have this whole jihad of sex. This very Araifi has another fatwa. What the fatwa is going on? He says that a father cannot sit with his daughter. A father cannot sit with his daughter without the presence of her mother. Why? Because the father is actually raised according to their society, their Saudi Arabian Islamic society. The father is actually raised to perv at every lady, because they taught from a very young age to perv. So it's reached a stage where Muhammad al-Araifi, the doctor of Saudi Arabia, needs to prevent this problem of fathers perving on their daughters, touching them, hugging them for too long, which has been reported, sleeping beside their daughters in a very sexual manner. He issued a fatwa saying that a father cannot sit with his daughter without the presence of her mother. This shows you that we're dealing with a serious matter of of engagement in spirituality and religion only to achieve sexual satisfaction, intimacy. That's the main goal. We don't want that to be the case. People shouldn't believe in God because there's a sexual reward at the end of the day, or that they fear God. You should believe in God because you love God and you want to believe in God. God should be worthy of worship. You shouldn't worship God because you fear God, or because God has promised you something. That's the problem. Then we have more. So this whole sexual fatwas, they start off saying, we promise you 72 virgins. With every virgin there's 140 somewhat virgins. If you are a father, you cannot sit with your daughter. Encouragement to join jihad sex. Then this applies to even another level. And this level is one of the most ridiculous things that anyone can come across in the whole study of religion, theology, doctrine, whatsoever, or even the deduction of jurisprudential rulings, Islamic rulings from the evidences or evidence, Islamic evidence, the Quran or the Hadith. This being that the fatwa says that a man should not allow his wife to sit on a chair, to sleep beside a wall. Why? Because the chair is male and the wall is also a male. And by her sitting on a chair or sleeping beside the wall, then she has slept beside a strange male. And this matter stems from the lingual issue when it comes to Arabic, because wall is ha'it in Arabic, ha'it or jidar, which mean wall, and chair is kursi. Both these Arabic words, kursi meaning chair and ha'it or jidar meaning wall, are masculine words, because certain languages have feminine and masculine words. And when you take the language, because it's a masculine word, you apply it to a wall, acting as though the wall is, you're treating the wall as a live being. And then you say that if a lady sleeps next to the wall, she slept next to a man, or sits on a chair, she sat on a strange man. So where do they go? Where do they go? Where do they sit? It doesn't make sense. And it only gets better. I'm just checking this out. It only gets better because they've gone to the extent to prohibit women eating bananas, eating carrots, eating cucumbers without chopping them. So as a woman, you cannot peel a banana and eat it. You can't chew on a carrot. You have to chop it up and then eat it. Why? Because of the sick-mindedness of the Muslim society in Saudi Arabia, or in any Islamic government that these Muslim nation follow their muftis in. So if you have a Muslim living in Australia or living in America, and they follow the jurisprudential rulings of the Mufti of Saudi Arabia, this would apply to them in Australia. This Sharia law would apply to them in America. That you cannot eat banana as a female without chopping it up. Otherwise it looks sexual. Now we're moving on to another issue, because when I speak about these matters, they say, well, Imam Tawhidi, we know this is the Sunni Wahhabi version of fatwas in Islam. Tell us about your faith, my faith. Tell us about the Shia fatwas. I'm pretty sure the Shias have fatwas that would be very interesting for the public to know of. I want to show you a fatwa issued by Imam Khomeini. Imam Khomeini is not a regular scholar. He's not a student. This man is a genius. This man ranks as one of the geniuses. In my opinion, he's a scholar that needs serious medical attention when he was alive. But not now. Now he's dead. He's the one that issued the fatwa against Salman Rushdie. These are the books written by Khomeini, who issued the fatwa against Salman Rushdie. This is the Sharia law of the leader of the Iranian Revolution, Al-Imam al-Khomeini, also known as Tahrir al-Wasila. I will be quoting or reading for you and also showing you volume 2 from Tahrir al-Wasila, volume 2, if I may just, yep, volume 2 from Tahrir al-Wasila. That's the name of the book, Tahrir al-Wasila. And I know many Muslims will say, well, he's not the only one that has this fatwa. Many Muslims will say, there are other scholars that have this fatwa. To me, it doesn't matter who has this fatwa, be it Khomeini or anyone else. I deal with status. This man ranks the number 1. This man represents Shia Islam. This man, whenever Shia Islam is brought up, his name is the first to be mentioned amongst every other scholar. We deal with the giants so that we can have a better outcome and a better result. This is the license of the print, printed by مؤسسة تنظيم ونشر تراث الإمام الخميني, printed by the Association to Print and Spread the Teachings of Imam Khomeini, book Tahrir al-Wasila, volume 2, as you can see, volume 2. And we're coming to page 255. 255, as I've marked in yellow for you. 255. Sharia law number 12. What does this man say when it comes to women? What does he have to say? This is the highest ranking scholar in Shia Islam. I don't care about politics. Politics aside, he was a politician, he was a leader of a revolution, he was this, he was that. To me, it doesn't make a difference. This man was a grand Ayatollah, and he ranked the first in the whole Shia world when he was alive, and until now he has followers that carried on following him from the time of his death until now. Issue number 12, he says, لا يجوز وطء الزوجة قبل إكمال 9 سنين. He says it's not permissible to engage in sexual intercourse, in sexual penetration with the wife before 9 years of age. So immediately after 9 years or at 9 years, according to him, you can. You can. But this is not surprising. We all know this. Then he says, whether it be permanent marriage or temporary marriage. Then he says, وَأَمَّا سَائِرِ الْإِسْتِمْتَاعَاتِ. As for other sexual pleasures. What do you mean, other sexual pleasures? He explains, كَاللَّمْسِ بِشَهْوَةٍ. Touching her sexually. So you touch the private parts of the young girl who is younger than 9 years old, and hugging her sexually. وَالتَّفْخِيذ. Thighing her. So stripping the underage 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, under 9 years old, stripping her, laying her on her back against her will, folding her thighs together and penetrating her thighs, thighing her. he says it's not permissible to have sex with a lady younger than 9. However, as for other pleasures, touching, hugging sexually, and thighing her, فَلَا بَأْسَ بِهَا, there's no problem in that. He says, there's no problem in that. فَلَا بَأْسَ بِهَا, there's no problem. Then he says, حَتَّى فِي الرَّضِيعَةِ. I want to pull my hair out when I hear this guy talk. حَتَّى فِي الرَّضِيعَةِ, even the little baby, the newborn baby. Newborn. I'm not joking. Here. Number 12. Number 12 here. The one that's highlighted. I don't know if you can see. Take this and you can translate it. Some of you viewers know Arabic. And over here on top he says, the first line on top, here he says, even the newborn child. Even the newborn child. You fold her legs and you penetrate her thighs. Then he says over here, but it keeps getting better and better. He says, but if he penetrates the girl before she's 9, وَلَوْ وَطَأَهَا قَبْلَ التِّسْعِ, if he penetrates her before the age of 9 and didn't take her virginity, so barely penetrated her, لم يترتب عليه شيء غير الإثم, nothing will happen to this man other than that he has sinned. He sinned between himself and between God. So there's no fine, there's no imprisonment, there's no accountability, there's no punishment, there's nothing. The man has sinned. For what? For molesting a child. That's all it is. You sinned between you and God. That's it, finished. Nobody gets involved. Then he says, and if he penetrates the young baby, suckling baby, to the extent that جعل, to the extent, I'm translating as I'm going because this is disgusting. He says that he rips the young baby to the point that the private parts are both joined now. Everything is ripped completely, destroyed. Because little babies, from what I'm understanding here, and what we know, they're fragile. You don't deal with a baby like that. When you have an adult man penetrating a newborn baby, then of course you're going to ruin her body. Then he says, if he rapes the girl, then we tell him to stop. حرم عليه وطئها. Then in this case, حرم عليه وطئها. He can no longer penetrate. So he's not preventing him from it from the very beginning. He tells him, if you do it, then you stop. Why would you let him do it in the first place? Then he says over here, بل, and we're still speaking about the young little toddler, newborn. بل وإن تزوجت بعد الطلاق على الأحوط ويجب عليه دية الإفضاء. He says, Imam Khomeini says, if the young baby that has just been thied or raped, if she's divorced and she goes to marry someone else, this baby, she's not going to be raped once or twice. She's going to be raped several times. And if she gets married, the little baby girl, after the divorce from the first rapist, he needs to give her, the little girl, the penance, the fine of making her bleed when ripping her body in half, basically. When taking her virginity away. And this whole thing is talking about baby. We're not speaking about an adult lady. This is all about little girls. Little girls. And someone will, from his followers, from his followers will say, yeah, all the scholars believe in this. Then that's your problem. You don't justify this by telling me there are 100 scholars that say this, not only him. I'm dealing with the big giant over here. Of course, if the giant says it, everybody else is going to say it. This is not something. I read it for you again. He says, it's not permissible to have sexual intercourse with a lady before 9, but you can hug her, touch her, thigh her, sexually touch her and thigh her. There's no problem in that, even with the newborn breast feeding the suckling child. No problem. And if you do penetrate the girl, the little newborn girl, nothing is wrong with that. You just get a sin. You have sinned. Repent. But if you have damaged her body, then you should stop. And if she gets married to someone else after you, a little baby gets married to someone else after you, then you need to give her the fine. And where's the dad of this girl? Married off. The little baby is being married off to these men, barbaric men. Tahrir al-wasila. We're not making this stuff up. You can't make this up. This is published and taught. Published by the government of Iran. There's their logo. This is the body that publishes the teachings of Khomeini, one of the greatest Shia scholars. Who are we kidding? Who are we kidding? This happens. And this has happened. This has happened. We don't want to get into the details. We do not want to get into the details. But if people want to bring up the details, we'll bring the details. We will bring the details. Because it's very graphic and very disgusting. But this happens. It happens because giants like this allow it to happen. Another Shi'i, so-called Shi'i scholar, Makarim Shirazi. A quick Google search about the Grand Ayatollah Makarim Shirazi. This Makarim Shirazi, I'll speak about him in my book, not now. There's a history between me and Makarim. And there's a reason why I left his office. And if people want to say that Tawheedi has nothing to do with Makarim Shirazi, or that he made his way through his office and tricked them like the statements they've been making, this Grand Ayatollah, I know him personally. And if someone wants to deny this, I'll pull out the bank statements and the receipts that I have from Iran, where he used to pay me for my work for him. I'll bring them all out. It's not much, but there is evidence that he used to pay me. And he's very well organized. There are bank transfers from his office, and I will show the world. So don't play around. For a very long time, I used to manage his books. This man is a psychopath. Absolute psychopath. And we'll get to that later on in my book, not now. I will not speak about Makarim now. Makarim al-Shirazi, the Grand Ayatollah Makarim al-Shirazi. And there's a reason why I used to work for him. There's a reason why. It has something to do with my imprisonment and me needing to seek protection while studying. And he has a history. Him and his son have a history. Speaking to my father when we had the mosque in Perth. And there's a long story. I'll get to that in my book. Makarim al-Shirazi says that using high-speed internet is forbidden. Is haram. Not halal. Not allowed. You cannot use high-speed internet. Then when you go to his website, Makarim, MAKAREM.IR, he has one of the best websites amongst all the Grand Ayatollahs. And I was there in the office when the people were working on the website. This is going back 2011, 2012. And he spent 13 million tumans on his website. 13 million tumans at that time, I remember, was around $4,000 to $5,000. It's not a lot of money for someone like him who ranks like the Pope. But come on, you spending $5,000 on a website. This website's not going to function on dial-up. It's going to function on fast-speed internet, on NBN, on broadband. So how can you have a fast, if you don't have a fast internet, how are people going to come onto your website? You want people to surf your website on slow internet? And what is your problem with the internet in the first place? Why are you against knowledge? Why are you against anyone accessing knowledge? Why do you want to slow down people's intellectual growth? All you have to do is Google it. Makarim prohibiting internet, fast speed internet, something along those lines. The articles will come up. This man has another foolish fatwa that says smoking is illegal. You cannot smoke. Smoking is illegal. Now this man obviously doesn't know his jurisprudence at all, because the harm that is haram in Islamic jurisprudence is the harm that affects you immediately. So if a human being smokes and instantly dies, knows that they will die, or that a limb would stop functioning, they can't see anymore, they can't move their hands anymore, their legs will stop working, or that one of their powers, their human abilities, will stop functioning. So if they smoke now, out of certainty 100%, they will no longer be able to conceive children. These three categories are what make any harm haram, prohibited. Not any harm is haram. Fast food is harmful for the body. Taking a shower and sitting beneath the air conditioning system is also harmful. You'll get sick. Walking in the rain can get you sick. Speeding can get you sick. Boxing can get you damaged sometimes. Many of the scholars smoke. Yes, maybe if you can get hurt seriously from these three categories, it's not haram, it's not prohibited. He doesn't know his jurisprudence, doesn't know his fiqh. And there are many issues with Makarim al-Shirazi and his Islamic jurisprudence, especially when it comes to Hajj, and the religion says you need to throw irmi, throw the stones, irmi al-jamarat in Hajj. He says ilqi, you can throw it in the pit. He doesn't know the difference between ilqi and irmi, and he's been refuted by many people like Sheikh Ali al-Qazwini, the son of the representative of Sayyid Mahmud al-Shahrudi, and so on. These are internal issues that these people. But my point is, the leader of the Islamic revolution now, Khamenei, the leader of the Islamic revolution, Khamenei, the current leader, he smokes. He smokes like a maniac. Literally smokes like a maniac. One after the other, one after the other. So if, according to Makarim al-Shirazi, smoking is haram, and any haram prohibited act is committed in public, then that is open fisq, sinning openly. Then you're a fasiq, which means then you are not just anymore. No one can pray behind you. So according to the opinion of Makarim al-Shirazi, Ali al-Khamenei is a fasiq. Ali al-Khamenei is a sinner, a public sinner. Then ya clown, why do you pray behind him? Why do you pray behind him? I don't know. In any case, now we have to take a look at one of the most notorious criminals when it comes to Islamic governance, and that is the leader of the current Islamic revolution of Iran, Sayyid Ali al-Khamenei. Ali al-Khamenei, this guy is something else, honestly. Someone who used to chant the names of the saints when he was coming out of his mother's womb, according to his representative. That the moment his mother was giving birth to him, he was yelling, Ya Ali, in honor of one of the Shia Muslim saints. Why are you lying? Do you see the Pope coming and claiming that when he came out of his mother's womb, he was yelling, Oh Jesus? Or that when a rabbi came out of his mother's womb, he was yelling, Oh Moses? Why are you lying for? And this is all documented online. Khamenei yelling, Ya Ali, when coming out of his mother's womb. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, Khamenei is a serious joke. And many people will say why. Let's take a look at the supreme leader of Iran. This is the man that makes all of these fatwas, and he apparently enforced once again the fatwa against Salman Rushdie, and he revived it, and he said, yes, it's still on, we will not withdraw the fatwa, Salman Rushdie needs to be killed for publishing the satanic verses. This man is a clown, because he was born in 1939, which makes him 77 years old. He was elected supreme leader of the Iranian Revolution after the death of Khomeini. He was elected in 1989, which makes him 49 years old. From 1989 until now, 28 years, he hasn't studied. Because you cannot study if you're a grand Ayatollah. Who do you study under exactly? Who is going to teach the supreme leader of Iran? He's the boss. He's the one that teaches everyone. And you don't get elected to the position of supreme leader unless you're an Ayatollah. This is according to the committee of Majlis al-Khubragan that elects Maraja' Taqleed. You can only be elected if you are an Ayatollah. But Khamenei wasn't an Ayatollah. And neither did he study after that. So for 28 years, right now, going back 28 years, he never studied. Where did he study? Who did he study under? Nobody. So 28 years, and during the time of Khomeini, he was also not studying. Because the revolution happened in 1979, Khamenei became supreme leader in 1989. So in 1979, the revolution began, Khamenei was at war. From 1989 to 1979, that's 9 years. The war with Saddam Hussein against Khomeini was for 9 years, 8-9 years. Give or take few years coming back and forth. Point is, he was in the battlefield for 8 years. At least 8 years, if not 9. So, up until the age of 40, the man was busy with other things. We're going to get to them. But from 40 up until 77 years of age, so from 40 to 77, he didn't study. He didn't study because the Iranian Revolution began in 1979. And he went to war for 8 years. Then Khomeini died. In 1989, he became the supreme leader at 49. From that time until now, he's 77. Khamenei didn't study under anyone. There's no record of that. So he was 40 when all of this began. But we will take from the 40 another 5 years, because before the 1979 revolution, we had Khomeini being exiled, and he himself was imprisoned. This is from his very website. I'm reading now that Khamenei, the supreme leader, is a fraud. It says in his website, now he was detained in Tehran's notorious police Sawak joint prison for many months. This had been his most trying imprisonment. And Khamenei has this to say about the barbarous treatment of the detainees. Then he says, 1975 he was freed, again sentenced 1976, again 1978. Then at the end it says, thus after nearly 15 years of bearing all sorts of torture at the hands of the agents of the Shah's bloodthirsty regime. So for 15 years, according to his own website, the man was busy before the revolution. For 15 years he was working as an activist against the revolution. But we will leave the 15 years. We'll take only the last 5 years from the 40 remaining years. We only have 40 remaining years now to see if he studied or not. We'll take 5 years from it, because Khomeini was getting ready, he was exiled to France, Khamenei was imprisoned. This whole 5 years time, we'll take it from the 40. We have now 35 years clean. I'll give it to Khamenei clean. In order for someone to become a mujtahid, you need to study at least 30 years. At least 30 years. A proper mujtahid. 30 years. Anyone who studies less than 30 years is not a mujtahid at all. At least 30 years. Yes, there are exceptions, but in reality, Khamenei is not Alam al-Halli to be a mujtahid at 12. He's not Alam al-Halli. We have exceptions, but in a normal situation, 30 years is the required required period for someone to study. Khamenei didn't study for 35 years. Why? Because he began studying in 1957. His biography on Wikipedia says he began studying Quran at 4. Quran isn't Islamic science. He was probably memorizing, and I will give him credit. He's a good Quranic reciter. I'll give him the credit for that. But he didn't study usul. He didn't study principle. He didn't study jurisprudence. He didn't study anything when he was 4. He didn't. There's no record of that. He did not study, and he studied Quran. If you want to say that Khamenei studied Quran and that is enough, then he and the Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia are equal in knowledge. Because the Grand Mufti of Saudi Arabia also studied Quran. There's nothing special if you study the Quran. So what? Because if you study the Quran, it doesn't make you qualified to deduct rulings and become a leader in religion. So he began studying where? In Najaf, in Iraq, when he was 18. When? In 1957. For how long? For 1 year. And he came back due to his father's health. Then in 1958, he began studying in Iran under the Grand Ayatollah Burujerdi and Khomeini. Khomeini has said all talk, chat, politics. Amma Burujerdi, you're kidding me. You have to be kidding me. You have to be kidding me. Burujerdi doesn't teach basics. Burujerdi teaches Bahath Kharij. Grand Ayatollah Burujerdi, who used to have conversations with Einstein, teaches Khamenei, who hasn't studied anything. What will Khamenei understand from Burujerdi's lessons to begin with? Nothing. Zero. Atrash bizzafah. Nothing. Burujerdi is deep science, deep principle, deep knowledge. Khamenei, coming from Quranic classes, sits under Burujerdi, skips all of the basics. For what? It doesn't make sense. So, if he started at 18, out of the 35, that means we have 17 years. What about his trip to Russia? What about his imprisonment in the time of the Shah again? And his trip to Russia and his high school studies? And how many hours did he study from these 17 years? And then his marriage and his trips and his time in presidency. What are you going to get from a 10-year time studying when you're a busy person? When did you study, Ya Khamenei? When did you become mujtahid? How do you become mujtahid in 10 years? Even if we said you studied full time, you still won't become a Grand Ayatollah in 10 years. No, and he wants to be the greatest Grand Ayatollah and the supreme leader for the Milky Way in broken 10 years. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And then he says, no, and all of this, and he wants to come head to head with the Grand Ayatollah Sistani. And he wants to come head to head with the Grand Ayatollah Wahid al-Khurasani. Not going to work. No one's going to take you seriously. Yes, because of your power, they will take you seriously. But you're a fraud. All of the Islamic leaders are frauds. They didn't study anything. And it says here in his biography, Khamenei is considered very sensitive to criticism. Public criticism of Khamenei has been described as a virtual guarantee to a prison sentence, Of course. Because he knows himself very well. Khamenei knows himself very well. He hasn't studied anything. So in Iran, you can, as an atheist, you can publish a book denying the existence of Allah, and nothing will happen to you under Islamic government. You, as a Sunni Muslim, you can publish a book denying the virtues of Fatima to Zahra, the daughter of Prophet Muhammad. Nothing will happen to you. But if you criticize Khamenei and you say, I don't like his beard, you get to go to prison. It doesn't make sense. This is injustice. And he's a fraud. Very clear. The facts say, not me. This is the fact. This is his biography. The fact. At least the ABC, thank you very much, at least the ABC confirmed that Imam Tawhidi was overseas studying for 9 years. At least for 9 years, Imam Tawhidi, confirmed by the ABC, he was studying, but not under Jama'at al-Mustafa, and the response is coming on the way. The response is coming on the way to prove their lies, but for now, I say Hassan Nasrallah is 10 times more knowledgeable than Khamenei. Another what the fatwa. Ibn Baz, who is a prominent Sunni leader, says it is illegal, you get killed, illegal to say the earth rotates. Ibn Baz, very well known, says it is illegal to say that the earth rotates. The Islamic Council, Al-Majlis, that's the name of it in Arabic, Al-Majlis Al-Da'im Lil-Ifta' or Al-Majlis Al-Ifta' Al-Da'im, the permanent Islamic Council for Fatwas, 9 years ago, under Fatwa number 21,409, issued a fatwa saying it is illegal to gift roses. What the fatwa, man? Why? Why? Roses. It is illegal to give roses because the scent of the rose, it arouses the sexual desires of the people. Ibn Uthaymeen, who is another mufti, says learning and speaking English is illegal. You cannot speak English. It is the language of the kuffar, the language of the infidels. English is illegal. Roses are illegal. The earth rotates is illegal. You publish a book, you get killed. You criticize the leader, you get killed. If you want to sit with your daughter, you need a mentor, you need a mediator, you need your wife. Then there's a new fatwa that says if you wear a hat, and this is a man, elderly man, white beard, prominent Grand Mufti, comes out and his lecture is on YouTube. They ask him, is it permissible for someone to wear a hat? Like this is my fake sheikh hat. Is it permissible for someone to wear a hat? He says, it is illegal to wear a hat. I'm not joking. If you comment for me in the section below, I'll get you the link. I'll get you the link and you can go and laugh at them. It's in Arabic, but you might find the English subtitle for it. Illegal to wear a hat. Illegal for a female to drive. Funny fatwas, man. I don't know where you guys pull these fatwas from. On top of all of this sexual hunger that we see in the Islamic books of law, we have these ridiculous statements. Mickey Mouse and Tom and Jerry, and everyone gets killed apparently. In any case, may God bless you all. It has been a wonderful time addressing you. I really hope you had a laugh from all of this, because I honestly spend lots of time laughing when I prepare for this. Thank you very much for assisting me in reaching 40,000 likes. I appreciate it. And wait for my next announcement Monday evening, where we shall be announcing the first venue of my first professional lecture on national security in Adelaide. I invite you all to come. May God bless you all and may God be with you. Thank you very much and have a lovely night.